Welcome to Too Many Games, where the more you play, the more you win. I'm your host, Chuck. With me is Travis.
Hello, I'm Travis.
No, I almost thought you
That's
were
me.
a cardboard cutout.
Not this time. Although I might as well be that effective.
That effective?
Yeah, because I don't have a game. I took part of the week off and have been doing real life things, which was really awesome, but also really bad because like a bunch of other bad things happened. But life is good.
Hey, I mean, we could just say that you have a game that both of us have played, and then I'll talk about it for you.
Exactly. I've watched you play Starcraft. That's fine.
kind of like our Turtles review.
Yeah, where you just talked about how much you liked the Turtles game, and I said no. That was a good review. Actually, it was a great game and a lot of fun.
So, if you're a big viewer, this last week I did the next movie review with my sister for Prince of Persia. Yeah, another 3-hour epic. But I mean, I got to get better at the like yada 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 moments, Yeah. Because these video game movies are like really fun to like talk about the differences of how the game is versus the movie, and then I like talking about the behind the scenes trivia of the movie. So they end up being like 3 hours, and there's a lot of parts in the movie where I mean, we kind of do like scene by scene breakdowns and shit, and that kind of takes up the majority of it. And I don't know, I feel like we could skip over a lot of scenes, and that's what I mean by the yada yada yada. It's like, okay, we don't really need to talk about why like every scene of them like walking across the desert. We could just yada yada yada, they're at the next camp, and that might cut down 10 minutes.
Yeah, a bit on the excessive.
But whatever. I mean, I created this platform and I like to talk.
Yeah, you can use it for whatever.
So anyway, have you checked out our movie stuff?
No, I haven't watched it or I haven't listened to them yet. But again, I've been pretty busy.
I'm actually even support your own channel.
I know. What was I thinking?
I don't know. I recommend them. They're pretty long, but pretty fun.
I'm down.
So next week we're going to be working on Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie.
Jolie. Got some big old titties.
Hey, here's a taste of the behind the scenes trivia. Okay, so game wise, Lara Croft is said to have 36 double D cups. At the time of filming, Angelina Jolie's breast implants brought her to a 26C.
God damn.
And they padded her to a 36D, but they didn't make her 36 double D because they felt that would be unrealistic.
Of course. That truly makes sense. How fucking ridiculous is fucking...
I mean, you probably could have just kept her at 26C if that was your reasoning. Like,
yeah.
What?
Nope. Not quite big enough, but not... Yeah.
I mean, okay. So yeah, it did come out like... it was like 2005.
More like boob 2005. Shit.
2003, 2005. So yeah, it's kind of like, at the time, video game movies were less about being adapted as close as possible to the game and more about, hey, this is a game that horny teenagers play, so we got to give them the big boobs.
Yep.
So
you're very, very rarely wrong, my friend.
So anyways, look forward to that. We're having fun with the movie stuff. Not that actually the gaming stuff isn't fun, but
yeah, what the hell?
Two different aspects.
No, I remember seeing Prince of Persia pop up. It was like an upload, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like I thought I just missed a whole week, and you just like reviewed something. I was like, when did I lose an entire week of life?
Well, you remember the last time we got together? I said we're switching the schedule to like one off, one on.
No,
And
I came back to me. It came back after
Yeah.
I thought about it a little bit, and I listened to the first part of it. Was like, oh yeah, that's his movie review. Gotcha. Yeah.
Cool.
No, it was a moment of terror followed by excitement.
Did you hear that Evolve is back?
Of the monster hunter game.
4 hunters versus 1 monster. So what it was is over the weekend, somebody who's at Take-Two just they just turned back on the servers that have been dormant for several years now. You know, it like, okay, so the servers are active again. So what does that mean? Well, basically before the servers went inactive, it was they moved the game to free to play model. And so they didn't make any money on it, and that's why they turned off the servers.
Typical.
But with the turning on the servers, that it's still not listed to, like, if you have never downloaded before, like you don't have it attached to your Steam account or something, it's not going to be listed for you. You can't just download it. But if you had it installed, you'd all of a sudden once again be able to download it and start playing. And so a lot of streamers and stuff are now playing it again.
Right. Especially the ones that played it before and had content from it and couldn't play anymore because it didn't exist anymore.
But there's this whole convoluted way, like a community Discord that you could join to they'll help you like kind of get a dummy cell key so that you could attach it to your Steam account and then you could start playing and stuff.
Oh, so people are helping you if you really want to play, and it's not like ridiculously elitist.
Let's see right now, see if anybody's playing it. But Take-Two has come out and said, I mean, right now it's got 355 viewers for a game that nobody could really download and play, you know?
Yeah.
Over the weekend, it was like 3,000 or something.
Yeah.
But viewers, not players. I don't know what the player count is. But it's just like, I mean, I always thought like this game came out too soon because it was like right at the forefront that Twitch started really blowing up and becoming normal. So this is kind of like one of those like really, it would have been a really good Twitch game that everybody plays because it's a 4v1 model. Yeah.
No, I mean, it screams like Twitch viewability.
Yeah. Its biggest problem, however, was the microtransactions. Because like this came out, Blizzard was starting up the loot box craze, and these guys were still in the season pass craze, and they did like the season pass for everything.
Oof.
Like there was a season pass for just hunters, a season pass for just warrior monsters.
No.
And the season pass only guaranteed like if you did the monsters, it was like 2 monsters. If you did the hunters, it was like 4 hunters. And then the next season starts. And the next season started within like 2 months of release. And so then you'd have to buy yet another pass. Not to mention all the like, you know, reskins and cosmetics and stuff to buy.
Yeah, that's fucking dumb.
2K nickel and dime that like crazy. And then it's like, how did this fail? But
I wonder.
So I don't know. It's just really interesting that it just kind of like came up. Like somebody in charge of the service just kind of like flipped the switch, turned it back on, and then one guy was just like screwing around on Steam and it's like, hey, I could queue up for multiplayer again. Let me tweet about it. And now everybody's talking about it again, you know?
Yeah.
And even though Take-Two has said like they have no plans of doing anything with it, it's like, look, you have a player base. I mean, it's not exactly large or anything, but if you want to capitalize on it and make some money off a game you already own,
Yeah, why not?
Do something. Because it still looks pretty good.
Oh, I love the like idea of it. The concept of that game is dope.
Yeah.
Like better Left 4 Dead. Well, different Left 4 Dead.
I remember I bought it at launch, and one of the problems was if you pre-ordered it, you automatically got the Kraken monster, which was the highest ranked monster from the base game.
No.
So it's like right at launch, everybody else has like the base hunters and the base monsters, but there'd be that subset of people that have this super advanced monster that is just one-shotting everyone without needing to evolve at all.
Yeah, just rolling around, literally being the king.
Yeah.
I think the monsters in that game were really cool. The concepts for them.
Yeah.
You have like bulk, like Hulk monsters, stealth monsters, like movement monsters, creatures, whatever you want to call them.
I mean, there could have been like some tweaks and stuff. Like, I don't like the idea that okay, there's 4 hunters. Whenever you knock them down, they have this whole like sitting animation for like a teammate to pick them back up while they're bleeding out.
Right.
So if you keep all the other hunters away from him until he bleeds fully out, then he just respawns back on the airship and drops right back down on top of you and full health, full
fuck that
abilities, everything. Yeah, it's like the monster has basically, when he knocks down one, he has that long to knock down the other 3 in order to win. And that's why you get some of the monsters with these insane area of effect attacks and shit.
Right, because you're gonna be later all of them.
Yeah, but I don't know. That always seemed like a shitty thing. I feel like they could have done better with that. Like maybe have a resource counter, or when the player dies, like Apex style, you have to like pick up a flare off the dead body and shoot it in the air for them to respawn or something. Something extra that they're not just automatically respawning and getting back in the fight. But, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, proceed with talking about Rust for the first time ever.
Yeah, since I've never talked about it ever. So Rust has been the concept of Rust is a game. So Rust is like a multiplayer survival game. I have been a fan of Rust ever since it was like the concept was released, right? Where it's like a survival game, an open world survival game where you interact with
it was one of the earliest survival games, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, so like technically you had like Arma and then the DayZ mod for it.
Yeah.
Which would technically, I believe, like the first one and stuff like that in that kind of
style.
Vein. Yeah, that style. But Rust definitely caught on. Rust caught on huge. I was playing Rust whenever the game was ridiculous. I mean, it's still kind of ridiculous, but it's like almost indecipherably different than what it was.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm watching videos now and it's like back when we played, like you got me into it at the beginning trend.
Right.
Let's say. And on that, it was like this small island that you loaded into. It was mostly dark browns and reds. You kill a bear and get chicken meat. Right.
Everything did drop the same amount of the same kind of food.
Like it was very limited. We played it enough to have a personal map in our brains of where all the locations are, and then we fucked with some people's towers, and it got to the point where it's like, okay, well, I mean, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Now it's like huge. It's like Valheim level
times 1,000.
Yeah.
No, so it really is like, and so the game itself has gone through these crazy ass transformations where like what Chuck was talking about is precisely that. The game has just turned into a whole nother beast. And there's a lot of people that have made a lot of money streaming Rust. There's streamers that are specifically Rust streamers. One of my favorites, a really goofy kid named Spoon Boy.
Yeah.
Spoon Kid. No, it's Spoon Kid. But
there's a lot of people who make money streaming World of Warcraft, and I'm tempted to turn back on my stream.
Do it. You should definitely do it, dude. So the general concept of Rust, right, is you have progressions, levels of progressions as far as like technology goes. So you start like everyone starts in Rust on the beach, naked with a rock. And that's one of the reasons why this game is so fun, right? Because you start from nothing, and then eventually you spend enough time playing this game and you'll look back and you'll go, oh my God, I have, a gigantic base made out of hardcore metal and a ton of guns and a ton of resources and rockets and automated turrets and all this really crazy shit whenever you started on the beach naked. So like that.
So there's a very clear concept of upgrade.
Absolutely. You'll definitely, the difference between just starting and having spent like a week on a server is gigantic, right? So almost every servers or vanilla servers work in a particular way where the game resets, right? The whole map resets and it generates a new map. And a lot of maps are automatically generated. Some servers try to be really specific and make maps, which I think is kind of neat. Like they'll have like their mods actually just make maps.
Mm-hmm.
And then like tailor make these really cool maps, right? That are like really interesting because they have like all these stuff in the, well, so there's so much to talk about. I should have like made a loose plan for this just so that I wouldn't get like stuck like this. Is going.
Hey, to be fair, you kind of thought you had already talked about all this, so you're going in with the assumption that things were already said.
Exactly that is precisely what is happening right now. But so you start out naked, right? Your objective is to do whatever the fuck you want. Most of the time that means progressing, finding some equipment, getting some guns, building a base, right? So every time you die in this game, you either respawn at a sleeping bag that you've placed somewhere, or a bed, which is a better version of a sleeping bag, but it takes up more room, or on the beach, naked, like you did originally. So you can always choose to spawn there. Well, bags also have timers, so if you get killed, you can't just infinitely respawn from your bag. There's a small amount of time you have to wait, so someone can kill you and then like take advantage of the fact that you can't respawn immediately, right? So then you kind of plant bags around in different areas just so that you have a bigger coverage around your base. So that goes into base building. Base building, me personally, I load up a server, and like I said, servers reset, right? So most servers reset on Tuesdays. And so tons of people will be playing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and some people play all the way through the weekend. And some people specifically don't because the servers start to slow down because people play less. People play less whenever the server's older because they just aren't interested anymore and there's less competition.
Yeah.
I don't blame them necessarily, but it's also less fun that way. Just because some people will be like, oh, it's a dead server, and then there's just nobody there anymore. And so like your favorite server might just be completely dead.
Well, I mean, that's just kind of the thing with online multiplayer. Unless it's like just this insanely popular thing, there's going to be dead times.
Right.
Like if you take like the Red Dead Online, for example, back when I was playing it a shit ton before they dropped all support for it, they would do like these battle pass things that would last a couple months. And at the first month battle pass is out, everybody's playing. There's people everywhere. You're constantly getting griefed, or you could like run around as a posse to do things. But by the last month before the battle pass reset, nobody's fucking playing.
Right, because at that point, why would you?
But that's when I would play because I hate getting griefed, and so I'd do it without I could just sit there mindlessly grind out all my stuff, get all the gear, and then as soon as the battle pass resets, I'd have like a shit ton of explosive ammo that I could grief other people.
Right,
Not that I'm
You
not a
never did
hypocrite. Not
that?
a hypocrite at all.
No, that was
Is
never you.
is more of what is it, retaliation,
Retaliatory strike.
like what uh like the Cold War, you know. It's like, if you come at me, I'm going to unleash hell, kind of thing.
Right. Mutually assured destruction.
That's it. That's what I was thinking of. So,
I'll kill you, motherfucker.
but yeah.
So that's kind of like what we're dealing with in Rust. Some people specifically just don't fucking play anymore once the servers got to a certain point, and they just like give up their base or walk away or do any old thing to move on. And so some servers reset on different dates specifically because of that. So you'll have servers that get popular at different times because there's different reset times, which kind of always makes sure the game's a little bit fresh. Like if you run around enough and you kind of rotate on different servers, you can kind of rotate with the people. So I kind of like that sort of.
Okay.
Because then you could have like 2 good servers you like to play on.
Yeah.
Just play on those. But also, so like the servers reset, right? But the servers reset, and as long as it's not a forced wipe, and forced wipes are like kind of monthly, as long as it's not a forced wipe, you keep these blueprints. And so the main currency in this game is scrap, and you can get scrap from a lot of different ways. It mostly comes like in addition to something. So you'll find like a crate in a monument, right? So there'll be these different kind of destroyed monuments, like a abandoned nuclear site, an abandoned supermarket, an airfield, an old like military base, stuff like that. And sometimes you'll find scientists, AI scientists there. In fact, there's also underwater labs too, which is really cool. In fact, there's actually tons and tons and tons of content, and Rust from when you played it with me originally has completely like changed into a whole entire monster.
Yeah.
There is like, I remember originally, blueprints. And blueprints are what you use to make guns, right? Or make items, because sometimes you want to make like a tool or a piece of armor or something like that. But whenever you have a blueprint, you can take components and then make it again. And you can make it again and again as long as you have the components for it. So it's really useful to get the components for something, and then, or not even the components necessarily, but to get an item and research it instead of using it. So whenever you research it, it actually gets destroyed, and you have to make a new one whenever you want to actually use the item. So if you get a gun from a crate, now you have to decide like, hey, do I use it to try to get more loot, or do I research it so I can make more of them? Knowing that like sometimes you have to have a different, they're called workbenches. And so there's 3 tiers of them, and that's how you kind of designate the difference between different guns and armor and ammo. Is the first tier workbench is pretty easy to make. It takes like minimal components. You can just find them. Whereas the second tier, or tier 2 workbench, takes a lot of scrap, which like I said is the currency. And so a lot of people will get to tier 2 and then not go to tier 3 because it costs like 1,200 scrap versus 500 scrap to go from 3 to 2. And you can make most of the guns in the game with a tier 3, but you can't make the most powerful guns unless you have a tier 3. But the whole point of the blueprint thing is so that if you log onto a server, instead of like spending all this time finding a gun, making a blueprint, you can just find the components, make a workbench that's comparable to whatever gun you're trying to make, and then you have a gun. So the more you play, the easier it becomes, and this is just per server. And so that's why some people like really get into specific servers, or you'll see the same people play again and again. So you kind of get a little sense of community because of that. But in general, it's kind of, it is really random. And you see a lot of really random stuff, which is why it makes it fun. So one time you might see like a crazy clan base. And now this is all dependent on your server. I try to play, I try to do my best to like play on smaller servers, or servers that specifically don't let you have like humongous surges of people. Like I can't do anything if 15 people try to kill me. Or if I live next to 15 people, they can bully me as much as they want. I can't do anything. So with that in mind, I normally try to play servers that let you have like up to 4 people. I think I play on a quad server sometimes, but I prefer to play on solo or duo servers, not necessarily just solo servers, because just solo servers, whenever when you're playing like PUBG, but you're playing PUBG solo, you play like a rat. You play like a fucking rat because you're the only one there and there's no backup. There's no nothing. Once you die, you're dead. And that's how people play solo only servers, like fucking rats. And don't get me wrong, I play like a rat, but I play like a rat on duo and trio and quad servers because I have to play like a rat. And that's when the fun comes for me, is like not grubbing people or like ratting people, or there's a bunch of different terms for it. Not specifically doing that, because I also have fun like having like fair fights. And the reason why, like most of the time it is 2v1. Like today I had a bunch of 2v1 fights earlier before I went to work, and it's like whenever you win those fights, it feels really, really good. But the 60% of the time or the 70% of the time you don't win those fights, it feels really bad.
I mean,
you've never died in a video game, so I know you can't.
Yeah, relate. I know. I quit before I die. Therefore, I never
you
die.
Just have your Alt F4 just bound to your mouse. Yep. You just rage quit before anything.
There's a reason why I have a 5-hour queue to every multiplayer game I try.
Is it unsportsmanlike behavior? Unsportsmanlike conduct? General noobery.
One aspect I didn't like, and it's like on all of these survival aspect games, is that it's not necessarily the game keeps going when you log out. It's the fact that it doesn't matter what you do to your base. If you're offline, somebody could fuck with your shit.
Yes and no. Like, I totally get that. That's another really cool part about, that's another really interesting part about Rust, right? So in addition to the whole progression system, like you start with a rock, and then you can hit a tree with that rock. And then you can hit a boulder with that, like a stone boulder with that rock. Well, now you can use that rock and that stone, that wood of that stone, to make a stone hatchet. Now you can hit a tree with that stone hatchet and generate more wood than you would, and faster than you would hitting with a rock. The same with the stone pickaxe. Then from the stone pickaxe and the stone hatchet, you get a metal hatchet and a metal pickaxe. Then from a metal hatchet and a metal, so on, you get a salvaged pickaxe or a salvaged axe. And those are in the same concept where, they're just better versions of the stone version. So it's like a makeshift badass version. Like the makeshift axe looks like it has a pizza cutter on it. It's fucking hilarious. Looks like a big stick with a pizza cutter on the end of it. I love it. But that's like one of the best tools. Then from there you get a chainsaw and jackhammer. But you can't actually make a jackhammer. You have to find a jackhammer or buy a jackhammer, because there's a specific outpost that, like, in the lore or whatever, because there's no real story or anything, but from like the understanding, the few remaining people have made an outpost, and these scientists have made an outpost, and they'll sell you some stuff. And it's also like a safe zone, so you can go there to trade with people. It's like one of the only like non-kill on site place. So in all those different, stone, metal, makeshift, and then whatever you call like a jackhammer or a chainsaw, you have those different tiers. And with that, you also have like equipment. Like if you're tier 1 and you don't have a lot of equipment and a lot of resources, or even really any blueprints to make good guns, you're probably going to be using default blueprints like a bow and arrow, or a crossbow, or a compound bow, or even a nail gun. And so that you're going to be using in combination with like leather armor that you'll find from killing animals and skinning them. So you'll be wearing like a leather poncho. You can skin wolves and make a wolf head hat that provides you some headshot protection. Also, almost some of the best headshot protection, actually. And then from there, you move on and get like road sign gear, right? So then you can find road signs and busted up signs and shit, and different road signs in crates, and you can fashion those into armor. And from road sign armor, you can make full metal armor. Full metal armor, you have to research through a level 3 workbench, which takes a tremendous amount of effort and scrap. And it really only happens whenever groups work together. Doing it as a solo is definitely like kind of difficult, because the better a piece of equipment is, the more scrap it takes to research it. And then not only are you researching it, you're destroying the item. So now you have to find more components to make that item again. And then the more effective an item is, the more components and the harder the components are going to be to recreate that item. So it's like a kind of a risk versus reward type of situation a lot of the time. And a lot of the time, the objective for people is to get to at least tier 3 so that they can make, so they get tier 3, and in each of the workbenches, there's a tech tree. And you can go through the tech tree and everything has a branch and branches out to different things. And some things you have to get as fillers to get other things. And you use scrap to do it. Well, sometimes it's really an ineffective way of using scrap and tech treeing down to something you want. Whereas if you just find the item, you can use a research bench and the amount of scrap it would take to just directly research it. And now you can make it directly whenever you have access to the components of the workbench. So it sounds super convoluted. Like there's so much behind that part of it. That's when it becomes really fun. Like I have a good grasp of how that works, and like the kind of gear that I want to use and the kits I want to use and the right components to keep. And almost every monument, be it like a mining outpost or an abandoned supermarket or a water treatment plant, there's just so many different ones now. And they keep adding things on in different parts of things. Like there's lighthouses and harbors, abandoned cabins, junkyards, satellite dishes. There's also a whole underground network that runs underneath the island that has AI tunnel dwellers in there, and you can run these trains, these like subway trains underneath there. So almost every monument has a grinder, and you can take almost any component or something you wouldn't want or something that you have an excess amount of and just throw it in the grinder, and it'll turn it into raw materials like metal fragments or stone or scrap. So a lot of people will just run around and find all the components they can and just throw them in a grinder, grind out as much scrap as they can, try to find a really good gun, research it, then also research the bullets, because this is the other part of Rust that comes in. The main objective of almost what everyone wants in this game, no matter what you're trying to do, is sulfur. Because sulfur, when combined with charcoal, turns into gunpowder. And you need a tremendous amount of gunpowder, not only for bullets, but for explosives. And so a lot of people use explosives, specifically rockets and C4. You can also make explosive ammunition, explosive rounds for guns to blast through doors. Because, like Chuck was saying, you have bases in this game and someone can fuck with your shit. So if you've built a base incorrectly or left yourself some kind of weakness, like everything starts whenever you initially make it as twig, and then you can upgrade it from anything. Once it's twig, you can upgrade from twig to high quality metal, which is the like highest quality of material, or you could go to wood or stone or anything in between. But twig itself is extremely fragile and can almost anything. If you have a gun, you could shoot out twig in literally 1 or 2 shots, depending on what kind of gun you're using. And if you have any other thing, even a bow or a stick or like a stone or something, you could knock out twig. So sometimes you'll find people who don't pay attention when they're building.
I'll fight a twig right now.
Well, yeah, and that's how it works. So sometimes you find people who
you need like some kind of bundle of twigs or something. Take me on. Like at least 20.
Mini twigs. A handful of twigs. No, so sometimes you see people who are, sometimes you see signs of people who are a lot newer to the game where they have forgotten to upgrade parts of their base and it remains twig. And so you could basically just blast into their base. And Rust is a pretty fucking ruthless game, but if you have exposed twigs, a lot of times people won't fuck with you, or they'll kill you and take your stuff. And then because voice chat and voice proximity chat's a really big part of Rust, they'll like, and I say they will, I mean, I try to like tell the person what's going on, like say, hey, you need to make sure you upgrade past twig. Like, you know, I'm going to take like your scrap, but I'll leave like your materials. Or like most of the time, whenever you're raiding, you don't need low quality stuff. So you'll end up raiding someone that you don't need their crap. So you can kind of be friendlier because you're in the power position, which sounds really fucked up, but that's kind of how, like, because it's a completely untamed world. And the only thing that matters is like, can you kill someone, or can your base survive them trying to come kill you? And there's no way to know where somebody's base is either. Like you could have multiple bases, you could stash loot in different places, you can actually make things that are called loot stashes that you can bury into the ground, and then you just have to remember where you put it or mark it on your map, and you can later dig it up out of the ground. So in general, what I'm trying to say is there's such a ludicrous amount of things to do in Rust, on top of like all the really neat guns that are involved, like the tier 1, tier 2, and 3 all the different tiers of guns. Like you can find like revolvers and water pipe shotguns, which a water pipe shotgun is almost exactly what it sounds like. It's like a pipe that you've manufactured into a shotgun that shoots a single slug. It's badass.
What kind of pipe is it? Is it a special pipe?
No, it's a water pipe. No, so like that's funny because that's what it's called. But no, so it's a pipe shotgun, right? So just like a big fucking pipe.
Is it a Zong?
Only if you buy the skin.
Damn it. All the good stuff is behind a paywall.
That's actually really fucking funny to think about. I would love to make a bong skin for the water pipe shotgun, because that's basically like that was a good observation. But I know you have a problem with smoking weed.
I don't have a problem. I just don't have any to smoke.
That's what I was gonna say, is because you smoke too much
like
of
a
it.
Problem.
So as far as the different guns go, I find it's really interesting because I don't like fetishize guns necessarily, but I think that some guns look really cool. It's like that's like the little kid in me that likes ninjas and samurai swords and shit is the same person that likes like a really big gun, or like I don't know, like MP5s. I think they look great, right? I think it's like such a neat design for a gun. Well, an MP5 is a tier 3 gun. So is it's not an AK-47, but it is. It shoots 7.62 like assault rifle. Like some of the names they use for things are generalized because like you can't say, I mean, I guess you could say AK-47 because it's not like it's trademarked or whatever, but it's just called assault rifle. But then on the alternative to that, you can't make it, but you can find it in crates and buy it from the outpost. But you can get what's like an M4 or an M16 or M4A1 or whatever, you know, that type of gun you want to call it. But it's not necessarily better than the AK. But again, these are all like tier 3 weapons specifically. Then you have all these other like neater guns that fit more of a niche, like custom submachine gun is basically just that. Like it's so almost all the guns besides the ones you buy or the ones you like find in high level or high risk areas are all makeshift pieces of shit. Like the AK-47, the assault rifle is just like the body of it and like the receiver and shit, and then the arm guard is a shovel handle. That's fucking hilarious. So you're just rolling around with the shovel handle AK-47, or the it's just called semi-auto rifle, but it's like it's not really I don't know what you'd reckon it more like a Garand or something, like a Garand you can reload. I don't know. It doesn't matter. That the reasoning behind, there's no reasoning behind me trying to explain what the fuck the semi-auto rifle is. I don't know. I'm kind of stoned and I'm floundering here for a second, but I apologize.
So, what would you give this game?
Oh, well, I can't say enough good things about Rust. The amount of enjoyment I get out of it is the amount of anger that it gives, that it incurs in me is eclipsed by the amount of fun and enjoyment I have out of actually achieving something. Like I can't remember the last time.
It keeps me alive by boiling my blood.
Exactly. It keeps my blood pressure going. It's the only thing that makes my heart beat anymore. But the amount of times like I've had a really, especially because like I said, I almost always play the game solo. The amount of times I've had like a super intense situation where like I start like shaking and like getting really, really like not excited, but like into it, right? Like I've had so many close calls where someone's trying to kill me and I have a ton of loot and I just got done doing something and there's like 4 people chasing me and I just get away from them, right? Or one of my absolute favorite moments is and I remember it so specifically, but I was starting out on a fresh server. I had just spent like 30 minutes running around gathering stuff. I found the perfect spot. I ran all the way across the map. Life was good. I was just about to start my whole fucking wipe. Well, like from behind, I get hit twice by bows, right? And so I know there's at least 2 people, and I'm already down like the majority of my health. And so I'm probably gonna die, but I have a crossbow. And so I shoot a crossbow bolt. I miss. It sucked. I kind of panicked a little bit because I was like really nervous with it because I had a base full of loot on me, right? And as it turns out, the next time that they both shot at me, one of them missed, one of them hit me. I went down. So you're not necessarily dead, you're just down. So it's not like the best story because I didn't do anything valorous. Like I missed my one crossbow shot and didn't get a chance to reload before they shot again, and they basically like snuck up on me and double teamed. You know, like people say let's 3-2-1 someone, and so they go 3-2-1, and then on one they both shoot, so you have less of a time to react to, you know, like you get hit by the first guy, well now you're going to be dodging.
This 3-2-1 sub. So do we go on one or after one?
One. Fuck. No, so I see that all the time with streamers and stuff. It's like they didn't even like ask it, you know, if they go on one or if they go on go or whatever, right? So anyways, in the story, I went down, and before they really had a chance to loot me, right, another group of people, at least 4 people, I wasn't sure because whenever you're down, like you can't really move. You can crawl around a little bit, but I was trying not to crawl because I was in a really good kind of hidden spot. So nobody finished me off, and you have a very small chance. And there's like some weird background mechanics because there's a hunger and a thirst meter. And a lot of people say whenever you have full hunger and full thirst, or the higher your hunger and thirst is, or, you know, is the more hunger and thirst you have satiated, the bigger chance you have of standing up. I stood up. I stood up in the middle of this giant fucking epic fight. I fucking reached down. I picked up my crossbow because you drop whatever you had in your hands whenever you die. It doesn't stay in your inventory.
Unrealistic.
Yeah, right. It should be stuck in your fucking iron grip like a video game.
I mean, they could create an achievement called "Pry It from My Cold Dead Hands" or something, where somebody has to like come up to you and like actually like grapple with you for your gun.
With your corpse. I mean, if this is to be realistic,
I mean, obviously, yeah, you can like shoot them in the face and just loot their body, but I mean, for achievement purposes, have like a grapple mechanic where you can just go up to somebody and like actually, you know, kind of like was it the like takedown stuff in Apex, where it's kind of like a little cinematic, but it can be interrupted.
So glad you don't play video, or you don't make video games. No, I like what
this shit look good.
Perfectly timed quote from the fucking Men in Black. You son of a bitch. No. So I stood up, I grabbed my crossbow, and I ran the other direction, and I was just bandaging myself the whole time. I got away from that situation where I was 100% dead. These guys were going to run up and loot me, and I stood up miraculously. It's not a huge story of valor or anything, but that's kind of like the point of Rust. Like you don't, sometimes you have these really amazing like 1v2 or 1v3 moments where you really just kick the shit out of some people, or you really get like the one up on somebody, or you ambush like a group of people, which is always super fun. But those moments whenever something like that happens, that's like a true Rust moment.
And so you steal somebody's shit while they're sleeping.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Sometimes people, because the material, the bigger your base gets, the more material you have to put in your tool cupboard to stop it from decaying and falling apart. So sometimes people, whenever they stop playing, they'll just not put enough resources in their base, and they'll start deteriorating. So the literal walls will start falling down. And then you can find, if you just roll around, you can find decayed bases sometimes later in the wipe that'll just be full of their loot until the actual boxes despawn, or the stuff.
I mean, I'm literally watching a guy tear down this other guy's base who was asleep with a jackhammer.
Yeah, and a flamethrower.
He's going to log back in. His base is going to be completely destroyed. It's done. All that work he put into it, gone. Taken away. Never see it again. I just need a minute.
For memoriam of your old dead bases. In reality, we were the aggressors the last time we played Rust.
Oh, I mean, at that point, like nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
It took so long to get the high level stuff, it was like there's a clear gap of content from when you started out and got like the base level stuff to like the last level stuff. We just kind of like floated around that gap and just ran around fucking with people because it was really boring to sit there and grind to the high level stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you at least remember what the play was before.
But also at the same time, we never really built a base because of the concept of, well, we're just going to lose it all anyway to somebody else playing like we do.
Right, exactly. It's like, well, we're just going to log off anyways. Like, it's fun. We might as well just have fun. So I give it 6 out of 10 rusts, which is actually 10 out of 10 in other games.
So this is a tier 3 game.
Absolutely tier 3 game, perfect game. I've spent so much time playing it. I love this game. I think it's a ridiculous amount of fun because you get to choose what you want to do.
My game this week is
Final Fantasy VII,
a Blizzard game that I've been playing a lot of, and it's multiplayer. It's been around for like, over 20 years. It's World of Starcraft.
Right. Don't you mean the Lost Vikings? No, that's not what you meant. You're talking about the Lost Vikings today.
Oh my God, that game. Oof.
What's wrong with the Lost Vikings?
Nothing. They're the best characters in Heroes of the Storm.
Really?
No. They were the most interesting mechanically, but they were terrible to play as because everybody tried to play as them. And the whole thing is like each one of them played as their own solo character. And each one does only like a third of the damage as a normal full hero. So it's like if you're really good at like micro managing a small group of players, you're really good with the Vikings. 99.9% of the players who chose the Lost Vikings characters were terrible with them.
We're not that. You're not that guy.
Like literally enemies, all they had to do was focus down the weakest one and kill him, and then the other two are basically useless in comparison to a normal champion.
Right.
So
that must have been really fun for everyone to kill them.
Oh yeah.
That must have been really fun for anyone playing against them.
It was one of those like as whenever you're loading up into quick matches and somebody picks Lost Vikings, like, oh fuck me. Yeah.
Nope.
And I was that guy who always picked Lost Vikings.
I know because I did it every time.
No, Starcraft 2. I revisited this game very recently because I got burnt out on World of Warcraft. And I wouldn't say exactly burnt out, but I played a shit ton because of they had this XP buff going, so I had to max out all of my alts and stuff, so that I just had to like burn a lot of levels in World of Warcraft. And it's like, well, I kind of want to play something else. Now, first I loaded up Warcraft 3 Reforged, and I was playing it, and it's like, I mean, it's good and all, but it's still like that early 2000s style of gameplay. And it's, it's like, there's a whole story behind Warcraft 3 Reforged and why it's not a great game. But needless to say, it's like, it plays just as good as the original game, which came out. And while that's not bad, it's like it's got some clunk to it after all these years.
Oh yeah, that kind of makes sense.
So I loaded up StarCraft 2. It's like, I haven't played this in a while, and I started playing it, and it's like, oh my god, this is so smooth. It's smoother than some of the RTS games that are coming out right now. Like fucking Dune Spice Wars. Like, I love that Dune has come back and stuff, but there's some aspects that are just very rough around the edges,
Oh yeah.
There's I mean, like you may remember the like original the progenitor to RTS games, as it were, Dune 2. But yeah, they just came out with a new game for the new movies, and it's called Dune Spice Wars. and it's instead of being more unit based, it's kind of like Civ, like Civ 5, where it's more about like diplomacy and the factions as a whole instead of like battalions of units.
Right. Which I do enjoy Civ games.
Yeah, they have their own kind of style to them, but sometimes I really like the like Warcraft style where it's like you build an army and you're walking that army across. It's all about the like small battles and not the big war, whereas Civ is more about the big war and extra.
Yes. Right. Whereas with Warcraft, you can micromanage your own troops and fucking win fights.
Yeah.
Moving them in circles.
So I suck at RTS. And I mean, I suck at a lot of games, but I mean, shooters, I've had moments where I've been really good at shooters, that fucking our Black Ops days, shit like that.
Throwing knives, brother. Throwing axes.
RTS, any point in my life, whenever I do any kind of online stuff, I am the worst. I think at the time Starcraft 2 was huge and I was trying to do rankings. I was hard stuck bronze and I maybe had 3 wins to my name out of like 200 games.
Nice, dude.
Impressive. The synapse of my brain to my fingers cannot handle micro. it can't.
Doesn't make sense.
But StarCraft 2 was the first time I tried to seriously take that step. But I was actually so into the concept of StarCraft. I like growing up, I didn't have PC stuff. I didn't get an actual PC till I was in high school. Yeah. And the first RTS I played was on the school computer, so it was Age of Empires 2. And then whenever I got a PC, our mutual friend Matt, he was into World of Warcraft because that had just come out. And I wanted to get into it. And he's like, well, you should play Warcraft 3 before you do. And so I got really into Warcraft 3 to get into World of Warcraft.
Because to get the lore, sure, but not to play the game. Like you could just play WoW.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, look.
I mean, not that I don't like RTS games, and Warcraft was cool, but it's like I definitely
there's a certain people you look up to will exploit you in different ways. But it did lead into some fun times because using the Warcraft 3 battle.net custom games, we had so many countless hours of like playing those custom games together and stuff. So that can't be beat, no matter how it started out.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to take anything away from that.
So, I got into it and stuff, but literally the last mission of the Frozen Throne, I could not beat. I just could not figure out how to manage my troops well enough, and I had him beat it for me. So we're pretty deep into World of Warcraft and stuff. I've played other games. We're playing a lot of I believe Command and Conquer 3 came out just before. So yeah, Command and Conquer 3 came out in 2007. And me and Matt, we would basically play twos online. And so he was basically teaching me how to manage troops better and stuff. And we played the shit out of Command and Conquer to the point where the developers had like this weekly broadcast thing to highlight certain replays. We were in that quite a few times, and they made a lot of hot fixes based on the bullshit we were doing. It was great.
That's a great feeling.
By the way, our team name was Autoerotic Asphyxiation.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
it was a good one.
Getting really into that, StarCraft 2 gets announced, and it's like, oh shit, Blizzard made RTS coming back. It's going to be like the brand newest style with the new engine and everything. So, I bought the collector's edition like, of
You got
Wings of
into it.
Liberty. So there was 3 chapters to Starcraft 2. There's the first one, Wings of Liberty, which is just the human campaign. Then you have Heart of the Swarm, which is the evil alien Zergs.
Yeah.
And then you have what the hell was the third one called? Damn it.
Butthole Lickers?
Legacy of the Void,
Protoss
which is the
sucks.
good aliens, the Protoss. The shitty thing is they split the 3 factions up into 3 separate games when the original Starcraft had them all on one. Is kind of one of the aspects of the Blizzard RTSs is that you would have 3 separate campaigns on a disc. So Starcraft 2 is the first time they split it up, but each of the campaigns lasted a long time. So
yeah, they put a lot of love into Starcraft 2.
Yeah. So that's like one of the only game series I bought the collector's edition for all 3 games.
No shit.
Yeah.
What were they giving you with the collector's edition at the time?
It was artwork, behind the scenes videos, is different memorabilia. I know the Wings of Liberty, it came with a USB stick that was like James Raynor's, the main character of the human, was his dog tags. And on the USB stick was the first Starcraft with the expansion.
Okay, that's tight as fuck.
Yeah.
That's a real cool thing to have.
And that was my first introduction to the first Starcraft, because I didn't play it back then. So that was back when, collector's editions actually came with stuff and not like digital goods and shit. So anyway, I played the shit out of it back when it came out, played shit out of both of the different variants. And so recently, I turned it back on. And that's where I watched the intro videos for all 3 campaigns again. I'm watching the in-game cinematics, which also don't look terrible. Like, these look PS4 quality still. As far as details on the characters, there's still animation in their movement that's stiff, but the details on the characters themselves is PS4 level. That's insane.
Did they do that?
It's lasted 12 years. It came out before the PS4, and now it still has those levels of graphics. But so the game, it starts out with Jim Raynor, who is the marshal of a planet called Marsera. It's like Marsera colony. And it has this kind of Western vibe where he led the rebellion against the main government agency. It's kind of like a civil war, if you will, and he was the Confederate side. So if you're into the show Firefly, you could kind of get some very big similarities between the two. So the main human villain is he's Emperor Minsk. And they're a faction called the Dominion, and it's just basically a big empire that controls the current human body. And so Jim Raynor builds up a rebellion to take them out. And in the process, the Zergs start coming back. So then you have to take out the Zerg. And one of the things that carries over is in the first game, Jim had a girlfriend. Fucking hell. The name just slipped from my mind. I was thinking of her. Sarah. So Sarah Kerrigan, she was a sniper that he was in love with.
Right.
And in the first game,
Ghost.
she got stuck during one of the main battles against the Zerg, where the Zerg just over swarmed the human colony. And so she got taken out. Well, apparently, due to her telepathic abilities, the swarm didn't kill her. They actually took her back to their mother brain, and she got mutated into a Zerg-like being. And so she's now like the leader of the swarm incarnate. And so most of the Wings of Liberty campaign is Jim Raynor not only fighting against the Dominion, but finding a way to bring Sarah back from the Zerg.
Right. Because he loves her.
Yeah. And so it ends with him being able to achieve that. And then Heart of the Swarm, you're playing as Sarah, and she still can control a faction of the Zerg. And so she has to fight the main Zerg brain that originally changed her, while also like dealing with the fact that everybody knows her as the Queen of Blades, who like led a campaign that destroyed hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, not very nice.
Then you have the third game, which is Legacy of the Void, which is the Protoss campaign. The Protoss are the long-standing rivals of the Zerg, but they're also there's this thing called the Void, which is this being how to put it, it's like, you know, this is we're living in one plane of existence, and the Void is like another plane of existence under us, but it's trying to like pierce through. So the Protoss are more of like a safeguard against the Void, but the Zerg are an aspect of the Void that has pierced through. So that's why they're fighting them all.
I see. I never knew that about Starcraft.
So Legacy of the Void is all about that Void creature actually breaching through, and as a Protoss, you have to like rally the other factions together to kind of like do a unified front to stop it.
Fuck those dudes up.
All in all, it's like a fucking amazing sci-fi story, ups, downs, fucking amazing characters and shit. And that's why I brought it up as like it would work really well as a TV series. You know, something akin to like Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, shit like that.
Yeah, an epic saga. Dune.
But Blizzard doesn't like piles of money for some reason. I don't understand it.
Or if you think about it, like, I mean, first off, they've been through some shit, obviously.
Oh yeah,
some shit going on. But two, it's like, if it's not broke, why fix it? So they're making millions of dollars all the time off of everything they do.
Yeah, but you know, most of those millions are going straight to Bobby Kotick. So,
which is insane.
I still don't understand how he keeps like winning the vote to stay as CEO. It's like, you guys realize if you get rid of him, you get all that money that you keep handing to him. Like the $10 million you give him a year, you guys can like split that up amongst you. Get rid of that fucker. He has billions.
Party.
He doesn't need more money, and all he's doing is fucking shit up. But
position of power, man. Fuck that guy.
So anyway, it just fucking amazing game. I love it. I can't believe the graphics still hold up.
What game of the year it came out?
I believe so. I know it was nominated. I don't know if it became game of the year.
I thought I saw a game of the year edition.
Got a 93 from Metacritic. Well, cited as one of the greatest video games ever.
That alone, I think. I mean,
I'm not seeing any awards for game of the year.
Oh, be damned.
So,
I guess not.
Well, now I'm curious because what won game of the year 2010 then?
Yeah. I'm really curious now what was stacked up against it.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
What
2010. So you have StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty comes out, right? It went up against Red Dead Redemption, Mass Effect 2, Super Mario Galaxy 2, God of War 3, Fallout New Vegas.
Oh.
Like,
That happened.
That was an amazing year. What the fuck?
What a great year of gaming, dude. Let's go back.
Right? Fuck yeah.
Should have a 2010 party.
So
Just play Fallout New Vegas. Actually,
yeah,
I just watched a video about a Fallout New Vegas multiplayer mod.
Yeah, I think you sent me that video. I haven't watched it yet. I really need to. So yeah, I mean, that was fucking Bad Company 2, the best fucking Battlefield game that came out. Shit.
Oh, I remember playing Bad Company on your PlayStation.
God, what was going on in around 2010 that everyone actually had good ideas and before they became shit? So there, when I was getting into StarCraft 2 the first time, like I said, I was trying to do the ranking and stuff. That led me to find a YouTube creator called Day 9. And he was doing this thing called Day 9 Dailies, where every day he would pull a lot of replays from the ranking boards and kind of like discuss their strategies and like why you would build a certain thing, like why you're aiming for certain times on certain builds and shit like that. But on top of all that, he'd do a thing called Newbie Tuesdays, in which every Tuesday he would like take an aspect of those high-ranking individuals and like help teach you to build those kinds of frameworks. Like he'd have a day about micro. It's like, okay, just load up a custom game, build like 5 units. We're going to have these units move. So you're going to move them as a group. And now as they're moving, you're going to grab one, move them over here. Then you're going to grab this one, move them over here. Now repeat this movement, but I want you to be able to do it within 10 seconds kind of thing, you know, and just like get really good at that and then getting them all back together and stuff. So that way, because there's a lot of abilities and stuff that have splash damage, that's a mechanic that's training you to, when you're approaching a fight, spread out your units, you know?
Correct. Right. So they're not getting, splash.
Yeah. And then the next week it'd be like working on macro. So you set up a character macro. So this group of soldiers will be hotkeyed to your number 1, and then this other group will be hotkeyed to number 2. And so now you're mixing the micro stuff you built the week before, where you're spreading out the troops. Now you're doing it with multiple groups of troops. And it's a slow buildup, but he did a really great job of teaching. And I really, really, really tried.
No, that's really cool that he did that for people. He basically just gave really good coaching.
I worked on it so hard. I mean, I was mostly hard stuck bronze, but I believe I got into low silver before I quit. And it was like silver people were super fucking toxic. You like misplay placing your building so that it doesn't create a perfect wall up the ramp. It's like, oh, there's like one little pixel. Well, you just let in all the enemies. Well, great. Well, we'll just surrender right now.
Way to go,
like,
noob.
It's 10 seconds in, dude. Fucking at least try to fight it out, man. Damn.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen that type of people playing online games. Rocket League, man, people just immediately want to, you get down one goal, they're done.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that led me into like getting really into Day 9 as a creator. Like, it's really awesome. Both him and his brother were like really high ranking in the original Starcraft like competitive scene for America.
Nice.
And then he dropped off to do the videos, and then the videos kind of became better for him while his brother stayed in the competitive scene and became well known and stuff. And so all these years later, Day 9 still streams other stuff. He mostly streams Magic the Gathering.
I have watched some Magic the Gathering from Day
9. I think he's really great. He's a very articulate individual where not only can he take a little topic and like stretch it to an hour, but it's like not wasted time.
Yeah, no, that's kind of how I feel about it.
So
I like the guy.
But yeah, it when it comes to me, I'm like really into single player. I like playing single player stuff, even if it has multiplayer aspects. I could get behind a story and game concepts a lot faster than I could get behind out strategizing an actual opponent.
Right.
You know,
that makes sense.
Every time I try, it just like the amount of time it would take me to sit down and train to be somewhere competitive with these people is like, well, I could also just put that amount of time into playing more games because I have 500 sitting on a shelf that I've barely played 10 minutes of, you know?
Yeah. Much better use of your time as far as gaming goes.
I mean, besides that, you know, fucking actually working for a living instead of streaming, you kind of like, you get home from a long day of work, you don't want to sit there and like deal with toxic shitheads all day or all night. So,
well, at all, period. Fuck those guys.
So, so every time a game comes out, and it's happened with Valorant, it's happened with Call of Duty, it's happened with Starcraft, currently happening with World of Warcraft. It's like, I try to do the multiplayer aspect, and it just bums me out so much. Like, I know all the aspects that I need to know to play at their level, but my hands just don't move like that yet. And it's all about training like your actual your mobility in yourself to be able to react like they do, even if you know what how the game is supposed to be played, kind of thing.
I totally agree. I think I need to, like, it sounds silly, but I used to be in much better shape and I used to be stronger. And that strength in my hands and my arms led me to be better at first person shooter games. Like, it sounds silly, but like, I'm not like a weak baby now, but I'm not as strong as I used to be. And I've noticed like arm fatigue more, but I'm also older than I was.
Right.
It's like I play Rust all day and like my hand is actually cramped, whereas I could play like Counter-Strike all day and go play another game right afterwards.
So, so that said, I mean, I put in obviously 10 times more amount of time into the single player aspect of StarCraft 2. And one thing that it happens on every RTS style game, there is one unit that it doesn't matter if it has a counter or not, if you build enough of it, but it just kind of becomes that all around unit that if you only build that unit, you could win every map. Doesn't matter. Right. In the original StarCraft, most of my memories are from the Protoss aspect, but it's like, no matter how hard the map got, as long as I built these oracles, which are machine robots with like 4 legs, and they shot this like little energy ball out. Like, I could have like 100 of these oracles and just lay waste to everything because they can hit ground and air units. The only other thing I needed to build was these spaceships that are like they could like pick up units and like place them down other places. So it's like, you know, to traverse canyons or like go up a building or something, you know.
Right.
The
support.
And then StarCraft 2, specifically Legacy of the Void, there's this unit, it's like fuck, what is it? Okay. So it's this unit called the Void Ray. It's an aerial unit, but it's like a mid tech tree, so it doesn't take you too long to get to it. So it's an air unit, and it basically fires a continuous laser beam at a target. So it does its initial damage isn't a lot, but it just keeps doing the damage as long as it stays on that target. So you build up a like a force of like 10 or so, and all 10 of them hitting that one target can liquidate pretty much an entire army as long as you're like single clicking, you know.
Right.
And then you can spec into an upgrade where instead of like firing individual lasers, the units themselves will converge their laser into one giant laser and multiply their damage.
That's pretty tight.
So it's like when I got to Legacy of the Void, it's like mission 6 or something out of 25. You get the Void Ray, and that's literally all I built. I didn't build any other like unless it forced me to build that unit, I would only build Void Rays. And yeah, I beat that game on hard difficulty, only using Void Rays, just because they are strictly overpowered unless the enemy builds your exact counter, which in an online, like in a multiplayer game, they would build your exact counter if all you built was Void Rays.
But AI is stupid, sort of.
Yeah, so they'll like build really high level techs and stuff, but it's like they build like 3 of this other unit, 3 of this one unit, and then like 2 of these really big units and stuff. So if you just overwhelm them with this kind of like middling unit, like they're just dumping money.
Its damage.
Yeah.
That progressively becomes stronger the more of the middling unit you make, which is a really tight fucking. I like that concept a lot.
Yeah.
Like whenever games do that, that is an option.
And I played the most recent Age of Empires 4, and I was getting through most of its story mode by just building trebuchets. Like I needed like a small force of cavalry just to guard the trebuchets. But yeah, if you build like 10 trebuchets, you can wipe out an entire village without being close to their walls at all.
Can't argue results, man. Shit.
Yeah. So
if it works, it works.
It's a little tip to you guys if you ever want to play RTS is like
build trebuchets.
Middle tech units. If you just like spam them, you can clear out anything.
Yeah. Solid advice.
I don't think I have much more to say on it. I mean, it's free to play now. You can see. Technically only the Wings of Liberty, the human campaign, is free. You have to still buy the other 2. But I mean, if you're at all curious, if you like RTS games on the PC, it's technically not that demanding of PC requirements.
Oh yeah,
like because it's like a 12-year-old game, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, you could get away with like anything to run it, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'd say definitely try it out. I mean, free to play, you can't really go wrong.
Right? If you don't like it, what'd you lose?
Right? Hard drive space, which can be regained.
Right? Beautiful, beautiful hard drive space.
So, yeah, I mean,
what would you rate this game? 1,000 out of 1,000? 100? 2?
10 Void Rays out of 10.
Love it. He's all wraithed up, ladies and gentlemen. He's a madman. No plans on stopping. Thanks for tuning in. Sign up for our Patreon.
Yeah. So next week will be another Video Booze episode. I don't know. I like the name.
Video
Screw
Booze.
all you who don't.
Has anyone said anything other to the contrary? Just preemptively saying fuck off.
Preemptively shutting up all the haters.
You're goddamn right.
Just walking up to the old lady down the street. I know you hate me.
Bitch, what you say about the name of my fucking podcast?
So next week, Tomb Raider. Look for it. Watch this last week's episode, Prince of Persia. Watch the episode before that, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Also, watch our show. I mean, yeah. I should probably.
You want to start with that one next time, big boy?
I really do just like enjoy sitting here, just like randomly talking about games. I don't know. I like our freeform structure.
It's great. I just hope someone else does too.
Right?
No, it's actually just super fun. This is a good opportunity just to kind of like catch up with you two and shoot the shit.
I keep putting it off, but the more I put off, the more Blizzard does stuff. So I don't know. Maybe the next episode we'll do the deep dive into World of Warcraft, because I have a lot of more stuff to say on the bullshit they do.
Not quite done.
So look forward to that. Pew 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 pew.
Yeah, until next time. Be good.
Catch us on Twitter at toomanygames2. Catch us up. Send us some emails at toomanygamespodcast@gmail.com. Questions, concerns, bad memes, whatever.
Yeah.
Catch us on every streaming platform available: Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. If you're listening to us on iTunes, be sure to give us a rating and a comment so that, you know, we can kind of grow and be seen more. We have a Patreon available if you wish to donate. It's $3 for a tier, and you get access to the extended versions of the podcast, which run over an hour long. So if you
they get up there.
If you enjoy more talks about games and shit, like, get in that. And we would love you more.
You'll enjoy yourself. It's worth your money.
Current Patreons being our friend Jake Penley from New Mexico.
And your mom.
And my mom, who also lives in New Mexico. And that's not a your mama joke, because my mom actually does live in New Mexico. Yeah. and a friend of mine and my sister's, Taylor Loch Ness, who lives up here in Wisconsin. So thank you all to those supporters.
I appreciate the support.
Go out there and tell your friends to support us. And if you don't,
just tell your friends to support us. Hey guy.
Well, how else are we gonna be seeing?
Dude,
I'm working it. I'm slinging it.
Hey, you're doing great, and I love you for it.
I'm trying.
Bye.
I'll see you next time. Have a good night.